Welcome back into the booth for the last round here today at Regional Championship 8 in Sydney, Australia. I'm Jim Dowling, Lee Hong Nguyen. We've been commentating. We've got one match left for you. The grand final, playing for an invite to Worlds, playing for $5,000 cash money. Let's get down to the table. That's right.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, at this point, we've seen both of these players on stream before. On the right here, we have Thomas Bott playing Colorless Eldrazi. On the left, Nicholas Talbot playing Hollow One. Neither of these are in the most common decks for the day.
Right, the meta is kind of crazy right now. We have a lot of Breach, Grinding Breach, we have a lot of Black-White Blink, we have a lot of Green-Red Eldrazi, yet in the finals, we have Hollow One and Colorless Eldrazi. I think it's less than a couple percentage.
That's right. There was 2 Colorless Eldrazi decks in the room in the 155 players, and both of them made the top 8. There was 3 Hollow One decks in the 155 players, and one of them made the top 8. So really good performance from these players to work through all of the other powerful players in the room. You have to win a tournament to qualify for this event. You can't just walk in the door and play. So everyone in this room has already proven themselves to be a great Magic player, and these two were the best on the day.
Right. And I actually had a little bit of discussion with them before coming into this finals here, and I think it's kind of the vibe of just play what you know, play what you love, right? You know, they could have played Breach themselves, but, you know, Nicholas was saying that he was playing some challenges online, you know, didn't do too well, and he was just like, I'm just going to go and have fun. He actually had a round 1 bye coming into the tournament because his opponent didn't show up. And then, yeah, ended up winning out and getting to the top 8. And Thomas himself, he was just grinding the matches, doing what you usually do. So congrats to these guys in the finals, and pretty excited to see what happens.
You mentioned there that playing what you know can be a good strategy. A lot of players will sort of gravitate to, oh, this is the best deck in the format, everyone's playing it, I've got to play that deck as well. And that throws away the, tens or hundreds of hours that you might have playing your favorite deck. And if your favorite deck is a close shot, a couple of percentage points behind the best decks, maybe that gives you the best chance on the day.
Yeah, no, I talk to this topic a lot about mental fatigue, right? So if you use your muscle memory to learn all the lines in your deck that you've been playing for lots of practice, a lot of reps, then you can use the rest of your mental energy to learn and interact and beat the opponent on what they're doing in their deck. So you don't constantly trying to learn a new deck and play it at the same time, because you just know it from so many reps of practice.
If Breach was the best deck in the format by 2% and you can play the next best deck 5% better, that's great.
It skews the odds. It does skew the odds.
Plus, you'll have more fun at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And you can be so proud, right? Like, Thomas has been working on this innovation of this deck for a little bit of time now, and he loves his Colorless. He's in All-Star and other formats as well. Nicholas as well is a big fan of Hollow One. He said that he just wanted to bring this and have a bit of fun.
Do you know,
and long the oddies in the finals.
Do you know if Nicholas is a local player or has he travelled for this event?
I do see him around. I'm not sure where he actually resides now, but I just know that Nicholas is he's definitely been grinding a lot.
Thomas, I know, travelled up from Melbourne, so travelled 800 kilometres or 500 miles for those overseas to be here, and look, it's proven that it's been worth it.
Yeah, definitely. And Hollow One is quite a hilarious deck because you're just rolling dice, and we're in here in a venue where a lot of people love having fun and playing games.
I see some opening 7s here. For Tom, I can see a Mind Stone, a Darksteel Citadel, a Everflowing Chalice, an Emrakul. I don't know if I saw a second land there.
Right. And the Everflowing Chalice there is the 5th type of Mind Stone effect, where you're kind of relying on things like the Ugur's Labyrinth to be able to play a turn 1 threat. Oh, Thomas is keeping it. Yeah, we'll see what comes out of this.
Yeah, both players keeping
a strong 7.
No pre-game actions for Thomas this time around. Nicholas leading us off with a Wooded Foothills. We'll see what he has to play. Is it going to be some sort of hand disruption effect? Is it going to be a Shark? Is it going to be a Faithless Looting to sculpt his own game plan?
Yeah, right. And being on the play and draw here is quite important because they're both kind of somewhat like creature aggro decks. Thomas doing fast things, He has more of a high end, though, with Thomas's deck but being Emerald Cooler, Promise End, and Devourer. While Nicholas, he's trying to do things really fast. And he's got a turn 1 Shark, which is something that we spoke about last round and a few rounds ago where Nicholas was on stream. And this Shark is an upgrade of an old card. What's that old card called again?
Yeah, so it's a rework of Flameblade Adept. Marauding Mako, of course, growing every time you discard 1 or more cards. Wow.
Wow.
Let's not talk about that any longer. We've got a blistering start here out of Thomas. We see Darksteel Citadel, Mox Opal, Everflowing Chalice for 0. We'll touch on that in a second, and a Chalice for 1.
Yeah, this kind of feels like eternal sort of vintage vibes where you're playing a Moxen, you got Metalcraft, and you go all in. And Thomas here is playing 4 Darksteel Citadel. So this is purely enabled by playing 4 Artifact Lands in your deck. He has no fear.
So let's talk about this Everflowing Chalice, right? It's a 0-cost artifact. You can pay extra mana when you cast it to put charge counters on it, and then it'll tap for some mana in the future. This one was cast with no charge counters. 0 mana paid, you'll get 0 mana out of it, but it was a 3rd artifact for the turn.
It's just counting for Metalcraft. But it also gives the flexibility to pay more mana into it for a later turn. So kind of cool research sort of play there by Thomas where he's giving himself flexibility, but also at the same time he can have blistering starts like this.
And wow, Nick's turn 2 was just a tap land, and of course you can't play any 1 costs into that Chalice on 1. So just basically a complete pass on turn 2 for Nick.
Yeah, Nicholas has a lot of 1 mana spells. He has things like the Marauder that you see there. We have Faithless Looting. We have Burning Inquiry. There is and Neither Goith. We have so many 1 mana spells in Nicholas's deck. So it makes sense that he's a little stunted by this Chalice of Void on 1.
So turn 3, opening up with cycling a Street Wraith. That's going to grow the Marauding Mako. A 3rd land being played. And is this a Phoenix coming down perhaps, or a Hollow one? It is a Hollow one.
Hollow one is an all-star in a different format, but yeah, we see that played a lot here because it gets discounted by each card that you discard. So coming down from 5 mana down to 3 from discarding the card for Street Wraith, and now he has a 4/4 plus a 2/2 in play.
Yeah, it's just a big body. It's not going to do anything fancy when it's in play. It's just a 3 mana or 1 mana or 0 mana 4/4, which, you know, it's on turn 3. There's now 6 power. There's only 3 attacks needed to end the game if nothing else happens. You see here, Tom with the turn 3 Ugin's Labyrinth, putting an Emrakul the Promised End under that one.
Right, it seems like he's trying to dig for a little bit of a, you know, more answers, and he's cracked the Mind Stone, and then he's played a Shadow Sphere. Now, that's going to get countered by his own Chalice, but he's doing it just for mana and the threats. So that's the problem with sometimes with these Colorless decks where they play Chalice of the Void, where he's played 2 1-mana spells, but he's still just getting the triggers from the Fleshraker anyway.
Getting some creatures, putting them on the board, perhaps building up some mana for maybe any expensive cards that come off the top. I believe there's no cards left in hand for Tom.
I think he's empty-handed here, which is an interesting line that he's doing here, because this Hollow one is a 4/4. It's quite big. Yes, you could jump it and block it with these little tokens here, but outside of that, like, where is he trying to go from there?
I think the ideal draw that if I was in Talbot's seat, I would be hoping to draw a Devourer of Destiny off the top. 7 mana, cast it, exile that Marauding Mako, and have a 6/6, which, you know, Hollow one is touted for its large size and prowess on the battlefield, but it's only a 4/4. The Eldrazi go much bigger than that.
Right, and that's the dynamic here, right? Like, Thomas has a range of going, you know, fast mana and some big bodies versus Nicholas putting out the big bodies faster and trying to attack early. So you can see here Thomas being on 11 life points and Nicholas being on 13.
Both players losing life rapidly here. We see a Chalice now being cast for X equals 2. So we're going to have 2 Chalices here, dueling Chalices. All 1 costs will be counted. All 2 costs will be counted.
And it makes sense that he's attacking here with the Fleshraker because realistically, it's such an MVP in this matchup. You're never blocking, right? So you just attack in for 2. Puts Nicholas down to 10. If this is a swinging sort of who's the beatdown kind of race. You know, at least Thomas actually has some blockers.
That is true, and if we're looking at the mana count, we've got 2 from the Citadels, 2 from the Labyrinth, 1 from the Mox Opal, 3 from the Spawns right now, making 8 mana. A while away from casting that Emrakul, to be sure, but if nothing else, we've seen how fast this deck can sort of explode out of nowhere with this Glaring Fleshrakers. Now, what does Nicholas need to do to stay in this game and not let the game get away from him?
Yeah, so Nicholas needs the Phoenix, right? The Detective's Phoenix. I know that there's a Street Wraith there. If he's willing to throw some spells into the graveyard by casting them, letting them get countered by the Chalice, and then using Detective's Phoenix to fly over these blockers, then he might actually have a better strategy here. Because if we all know one thing that Eldrazi creatures struggle with, it's creatures that fly.
Yeah, and we've got the Chalice on 1, we've got the Chalice on 2. We don't yet have a Chalice on 3. If we did, that would also lock out the Detective's Phoenix from being a factor here. So we see a fetch land here, finding a Surveil land, perhaps looking to find a Detective's Phoenix, seeing a second Marauding Mako and swiftly putting that one in the graveyard. We don't need that, it's just going to get countered anyway.
Right. And there is a lot of 1-mana spells in Nicholas's deck. I'm seeing stuff like Nihil Spellbomb, Burning Inquiry, Faithless Looting, Lightning Bolt, Pushes, a lot of 1-mana. So Thomas, very heads-up play there by going, I need to prioritize one-up this Chalice of the Void, and that's the plan there. Now, upgrading to this Marauder, yes, each card you discard enables him to get a counter, but he doesn't have Menace anymore.
True.
That's kind of really important, right? Because now if Thomas wants, every colorless spell he casts keeps making a blocker, and then he's just going to keep blocking things.
Now let's talk about that Phoenix a little bit more, as well as the Nethergoyf that we can see on the deck list as well. These cards have Escape, and that means that you can cast them from the graveyard. It's important to note that for both of those cards, they are being cast from the graveyard, and that means that we don't check how much mana you paid for the spell, we check the mana that is written in the top corner of the spell. Nethergoyf, it costs 1, it costs 3 to escape it from the graveyard. Whether you're casting it from hand or the graveyard, both of those would get countered by the Chalice on 1. And Phoenix is the opposite. It costs 3 and 1 from the graveyard. And that means that unless you have a Chalice on 3, you're not going to have to worry about that.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of one thing I always say about Chalice of the Void players. People learning about Chalice of the Void, where it's kind of what's printed, except X. X is a special clause. But yeah, all right. So we see Thomas here casting a Devourer and exiling that Marauder, like you said earlier, and getting a few more triggers and getting that token back. So those tokens are doing a really good job of just blocking.
Yeah, we've seen this Glaring Fleshraker. You cast a Mind Stone, you get a trigger, you get a 0/1 and 1 damage. But if you cast a colorless creature, you're going to get the spawn and get 1 damage off that, and you're going to get the creature itself and 1 damage off that. And Nicholas is down to 3 life.
Welcome to round 6. You have 50 minutes. You may begin.
So Nicholas here cycling a Street Wraith, playing a second hollow one. That's another one of those mystery booster white-bordered cards here. And Tom, yeah, just a couple of Glaring Fleshraker triggers away. Also has this 6/6, which is going to struggle to brawl against 2 hollow ones. It can bash through 1 fine, but 2 can, join forces and get in the way a bit.
Now, the thing I'm finding funny is that it's like turn 5 or 6 now, and there's still no more types in Thomas's graveyard. It's still just 3 artifacts.
Very good here, yeah. Devourer of Destiny is getting into the red zone. It has 6 power and toughness, 2 4/4s, so it's going to trade with one of those. But hey, now there's a second type in the graveyard.
Yeah, right. Now we have more types. And Thomas still out of cards, so he's played the land for the turn and just passed. So he's slowly getting closer to casting this Emrakul if he keeps playing lands.
Yeah. Nicholas really sort of hoping this 1 hollow one can go all the distances. No, it can now attack. Now that the 6/6 is gone, it can attack safely again. The 0/1 could get in the way, it will be saved for mana. The Glaring Fleshraker could get in the way, but that seems like a bit of a waste with an opponent on 3.
Right, and this is where Thomas is really thinking about it. He's like, do I just take 4 or do I block? And I think it's safer to block here because every colorless spell just keeps... Is he going to cast another hollow one?
Wow, the very rarely seen tap 5 lands cast a hollow one. It's not why the card's in your deck. You're not trying to play this card for 5 mana, but boy, is it going to get through a Chalice of the Void.
Right, and I mean, at this point, Nicholas is just... he's just casting 4/4s.
I was concerned there that, you know, the attack with the hollow one, the block with the 0/1, that leaves you open to an attack back from the Glaring Fleshraker. But the second hollow one, putting a swift end to that one. Tom having 1 card in hand here. Wondering if it's a colorless spell of any type. You know, try and get a jump blocker or something like that going.
Right, I think he's passing. So potentially, maybe it's a Kozilek's command.
Nah, if it's Kozilek's command, your opponent's tapped out. You're just slamming that right there.
Right, true.
Make
yeah.
some 0/1s. You only need 3 damage across.
Yeah, I think what he's thinking, I think Thomas, what he's thinking is that he can't kill him with Lightning Bolt, right? Because there's a Chalice on 1 and a Chalice on 2, right? So he's just like, okay, I can technically just take 8, go to 1, and
Sure.
you know, and not matter. Because I don't think he wants to block the Fleshraker. Fleshraker is currently how he's going to win. Wow, he's attacking with only 1. Yeah, I would take 4 here.
And I keep mentioning it, but this has been an open decklist tournament, and that means that Tom knows there's no cheeky, you know, fireballs, X spells, something fancy. Tom knows exactly every card in Nicholas's decklist here and knows that there isn't any risk to going to 1 here. So we're going to be tapping this Mox Opal for mana and casting a second Mox Opal here.
Casting trigger, get an Eldrazi spawn again, take 1, go to 2.
A lot of times today we have seen...
There's Kozilek command off the top.
A lot of times today we've seen Mox Opals replacing Mox Opals here. And we see Kozilek's return. Tom choosing some modes, saying I'm going to trigger this Glaring Fleshraker for casting this spell.
Right, and I wonder if Nicholas actually has any instant spells here. It's only Lightning Bolt and Fatal Push, but he's going to try to bolt, and then he's going to say, trigger Chalice. And you might as well try, right? This is paper magic, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if that hit the Fleshraker and resolved there, then maybe you get another turn.
Yeah.
All right, so these players are going to be going into sideboarding. Thomas winning game 1 there on the draw. That means, you know, even if he loses game 2, he has game 3 on the play in this matchup. And that's going to be a big deal. Let's talk about their sideboarding plans. We have access to their whole sideboards here. Looking at Nicholas's sideboard, we have 4 Leyline of the Void, 3 Rough Tumble, 3 Thoughtseize, 3 Magebane Lizard, 1 Blood Moon, and 1 Surgical Extraction. What are we thinking here, Lee?
Yeah, I think the Hollow One matchup, I think Rough and Tumble could do something against the Fleshraker, but I'm not sure, to be honest. Like, I know that cards like Blood Moon can stop unfair mana and, you know, give it an advantage. But, yeah, I can see that Lizard and... Oh, okay, yeah, Magebane Lizard could do something.
Yeah, I feel like there's some spot removal in Nick's main deck that needs to come out. These Lightning Bolts, these Fatal Pushes. They hit Glaring Fleshraker, and that's all. So perhaps those are not good enough. There's also a Blood Moon sitting there, right?
Yeah, for sure. Blood Moon is definitely really strong in this matchup because Thomas is trying to do unfair thing with unfair mana, and if you can slow it down and actually Kozilek's command and Glaring Fleshraker requires waste. And Thomas doesn't have any waste, basic land waste.
True.
He's relying on playing the spells off the mana that he has. He has 2 islands. So
then at that point, you'd be down to like Mind Stone.
yes, Mind Stone, Everflowing Chalice, and you're relying on those things, right? Now, I noticed, though, Nicholas doesn't actually have any artifact tape.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
It's just like, I'm trying to beat you down, and he wasn't expecting, you know, to bring any like meltdowns or braids or whatever.
So let's talk about Tom's sideboard. Tom up a game here, has access to in the sideboard 3 Thought-Knots here, 2 Dismember, and a whole host of Khan targets. The one that jumps out to me there is Cityscape Leveler.
Yeah, I mean, it is a big threat. It is quite something like it's much bigger than anything that Nicholas can handle, right? Like it's an 8/8 with trample that also if it gets killed or destroyed somehow, it can be unearthed and come back with haste. So it is destroying all the biggest things. It also destroys things like Blood Moon, Hollow One, flying creatures if need be, right? Also, Dismember is something that that Thomas could consider bringing in because Hollow One is a 4/4, and I think sometimes you're okay with just paying 4 life to kill a 4/4 because it's going to attack you, right?
Or managing to get a Mako before it becomes a huge problem. The thing that drew my eye to Cityscape Leveler is it has Unearth, right? You can sort of bring it back from the graveyard for one more turn, one more attack. Nicholas is running Burning Inquiry.
Yeah, right.
If you discard a Cityscape Leveler to Burning Inquiry, that's great.
Seems like good value, right?
You're happy with that. You're kind of stoked. You've replaced it with a different card.
But also at the same time as well, Thought-Knot Seer is massive, right? It's a 4/4 body for sometimes even 2 mana or 3 mana, and it blocks nearly all the threats in Nicholas's deck, right? So Neither Glyph can obviously grow big with all the different types, and I believe Neither Glyph only counts your own graveyard, I believe. So
Yes.
it wouldn't count the Kozilek's commands in Thomas's graveyard, but Thought-Knot Seer can sometimes just be a really massive body.
We'll have to see what the players think. We'll be heading back down to the table in a second here, and we'll see if we can catch their 7s as they draw them.
I think cards was all that Thomas probably doesn't want too much of is probably Mystic Forge, right?
Yeah, the Mystic Forge sort of made for the games that are going to go long, that are very resource grindy and dealing with counter magic and removal spells, which is not what this game is. We're getting a glimpse here at Nick's opening hand. I can't see much there, just a couple of reflections from the light here. And we're going to see Tom's hand here. I see an Urza's Saga, and unfortunately the perfect angle for seeing our lights. 2 Urza's Sagas.
Yeah, I'm seeing some fetch lands here on Nicholas's side, and potentially some creatures. I think I saw some power and toughness there. All right, they're both keeping a 7, I believe. Oh no.
Thomas going back for a
It's
6.
going down to 6. Okay.
So the good news is, you're on the play last game. You got to get your Mako down before this Chalice came down, and you're once again on the play, and you're going to have this chance, get a 1-drop in play, whether it's a Thoughtseize or whether it's a creature, before your opponent gets this disruptive element, this Chalice of the Void that locks you out of, a quarter of all of the cards in your deck. Thomas here going to be dealing out a second 7 and putting one back if you can find a usable 6.
Now, I think in Thomas's seat, you kind of got to be happy, right? You look at their sideboard, and you just go, they have no artifact removal. So you just go like, okay, do I just mull to something that is really strong? Like, do I just play out my whole hand of Mox Opals and, Mind Stones and not be concerned that there's going to be no Brotherhood end wiping the whole board?
So looking at the hand there, I can see a Urza Saga, Mind Stone. There was a Kozilek's command in there. I believe I saw a Dismember as well, and an Island.
Which member?
Mishra's Bauble.
Which member, Jim?
Everyone has to be members to get into this venue. We're a sports club.
Okay. All right, we've got a Arid Mesa there fetching for I'm assuming here a Blood Crypt because Nicholas has no fear. Yes. And he's just going to fetch Shock straight into probably a 1-mana play.
We've talked about in the previous rounds how sometimes your life total is a great resource to be spending on your mana base and on your street rates and that sort of thing. When you're up against these breach decks that are unlikely to kill you with a reasonable amount of damage. Not true in this matchup against Thomas. As we saw before, the Glaring Fleshraker really the getting you down one life at a time. We see a turn 1 Marauding Mako again from Nicholas.
It kind of feels like a deck death by paper cards, right? So, really, Thomas is he's unassumingly pinging people a lot and getting a lot of value from the creatures and the spells that he's playing. So, okay,
Wow.
so Island there just pass. Interesting.
Turn 1 Mishra's Bauble. See your opponent's top card. Island go. Not the blistering fast start that Tom was looking for. But when you only have 6 cards in your opener instead of 7, sometimes you've got to make do. It's important to note as well that that island does not tap for Colorless. You mentioned before that Colorless mana is a strict requirement for the deck, which doesn't super matter on this turn, but may be relevant in the future.
Right, right. And I don't think at the moment I can see any Blood Moons here on Nicholas's side, but yeah, it'll be. And I don't think Nicholas has any ways to ramp and accelerate his way into a Blood Moon. But it seems like if he did bring it in, it'll be a nice way to sort of cut off any colorless requirements that Thomas has.
Maybe take an Urza Saga on the way through, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Right.
All right, turn 2 for Nicholas here. We're playing a fetch land. We're immediately paying the full price for fetch land and shock land. So likely to be seeing a second Blood Crypt here. And I wonder what the 2-drop maybe is. Maybe a Goblin Lore, perhaps?
Haven't seen a Goblin Law in a while. 2 mana, draw 4 cards. Seems pretty good. Is there anything else on the text?
Yeah, you know, you discard 3 cards, which normally a downside, but with a Marauding Mako in play, you're happy enough to discard cards. Could also be a Magebane Lizard.
Yes, exactly. A lot of 2-drops that are really important in this matchup that Nicholas can deploy here. Is this a lizard? Do we see a lizard? No, it's a fear of missing out.
Okay, all right. One from the main deck here.
Yeah, I like FOMO, you know, because it gives you the ability to sort of discard a card, draw a card, and he's got a little bit of value here because he's discarded Detective's Phoenix, which can be replayed later. So, you know, value all around.
So putting that Phoenix in the graveyard, making it cheaper as far as mana costs go, and also growing the Mako.
Right, right. And also adds 2 Delirium types because it's an enchantment and a creature. But that Mako trying to get into attacks there, and it's killed by the Dismember, paying 4 life. So Thomas goes down to 16, and he's going to play a turn 2 Saga like we saw earlier.
So getting rid of that Mako before it becomes a huge issue. We have turn 2 Urza Saga into Mind Stone, so ready to make some blockers here.
Now, we see 3 types in the graveyard there. We have land, enchantment, creature. If the fear of missing out can see 1 more type for Delirium, it can get 2 combat steps. Is that an Arena of Glory?
It is Arena of Glory, so it could even be some hasty creatures here coming out.
As you can see, Nicholas, even though he's on less life, he's generally the faster deck here. I think he's considering casting a Goblin Law. So might as well get Delirium online. There we go. That's going to enable Delirium.
It's going to enable Delirium. It's also going to enable the Phoenix from the graveyard.
Right, yeah, that's actually a pretty cool curve.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only 3 mana in there at the moment. You need 6, but, you know. So Nick going to shuffle up this, what have we got here? 7 cards. And we'll randomly determine 3 of these cards to be discarded. The 4th card in the row discarded, and maybe they can use a dice for the rest.
1. Nice. And 1 more card. I love how they're not revealing the cards. They're going to reveal it all at once.
Yep, give us all the information to deal with at once. Okay, that is a Thoughtseize, another Mako, and a Burning Inquiry.
And you can see how the... is that another god? Thoughtseize.
Thoughtseize, I believe.
We can see the power of what Chalice of the Void did last game compared to what it is doing now.
You're correct, actually. That is a Nethergo, if not a Thoughtseize.
Yeah, I remember my Theros art. The guy disintegrating.
The Thoughtseize is actually still in Nicholas's hand.
Oh, there we go. Oh, wow. Yes, we can see that.
Players just making sure that they can both see the graveyard. It is relevant for Tom to keep in mind what is in Nick's graveyard so that he can sculpt his plays around it. And the Thoughtseize coming down here for Nick. So we're going to see all of the information. Kozilek's Command, 2 Mox Opals.
There's 2 Kozilek's commands. 2 opals.
2 pair.
2 pair, yeah, right. I mean, Thomas is already... I guess he's hoping... Yeah, he needs a land drop. Because he can't... Oh, wait, he can cast Kozilek's command. No, he can because of the Mox Opal. So technically he can make some constructs next turn if he wants because he's got that, you know, Mind Stone in play, right?
Yeah, so the Mox Opal not online right now. Would need the Mind Stone to tap. little short on colorless sources. There's only the Saga and the Mind Stone right this second. The Mox Opal doesn't tap for colorless mana. So in a world where in 2 turns' time this Urza Saga has left the battlefield, we could see a situation where Tom only has access to 1 colorless mana. I'm going to take that all back here.
Because he's just drawn the Ugin Labyrinth, which I'm assuming he can't imprint unless he's magically drawn a 7-drop in his
Correct.
hand.
We know the rest of the hand being
Yep.
2 Mox Opals and a Kozilek's Command.
Now, this Fear of Missing Out is actually a 2/3, so I think Thomas should be playing the Mox Opal to make a construct and then block it with, as a 3/3.
That only matters if this Fear of Missing Out doesn't have flying somehow, though. If it was to get picked up by the spirit of a phoenix, perhaps rising from the graveyard.
Yeah, that's true, that's true. But in that case, you just like kill it with that Kozilek's Command, right?
All right, so Nick playing a Surveil Land from hand. Really good in these slower decks, but also super powerful in this deck specifically, being able to put cards into your graveyard that you can perhaps bring back from the graveyard later. That Street Wraith there going into the graveyard, helping to pay for the cost of the Phoenix, which needs to collect Evidence 6, exiling 6 mana worth of cards from your graveyard.
Which Street Wraith works really well. It's very synergistic there, right? Because you can exile the Marauder and the Street Wraith for, but the Street Wraith came in there basically for free for 2 life, right? So it's really nice synergy there.
So we're seeing here the Phoenix is being bestowed from the graveyard here and attached to the Fear of Missing Out. Looks like players making sure that they're reading all of the cards. There's a lot of words on these cards. And a Kozilek's Command coming down. X equals 2 here. So we're choosing remove the creature and what? Make 2 spawns or preordain?
Probably
Normally
Scry 2,
preordain,
yeah.
Scry 2, draw a card. I saw a Khan and an Eldrazi Temple, I believe.
I wonder if the players realize that he's getting an extra combat step, because that Phoenix has haste.
Yeah, very niche situation here.
Because like he already declared the attack, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I don't know, but we're on the cast here, so I guess I didn't realize. Oh no, they're still scrying. Okay.
Is there still Delirium? Surely there is, right? Land, creature, sorcery.
Maybe not actually. Yeah, because the
Maybe
Phoenix is
not.
out. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
There's just a land, creature, sorcery. You're right. There's no instant there. I don't know. We can't see the full graveyard, but yeah. All right, he's gonna make a construct here, and then what? Oh wow, he has the main deck Soul Guide Lantern.
Ooh. I mean, it's game 2. It doesn't even have to be main deck, but
You're right.
Soul Guard Lantern. Do you get that, or do you just get a Shadow Spear?
True. Shadow Sphere. Yeah, you just equip the Shadow Sphere and attack back,
Yeah,
right?
this
Because
construct currently a 3/3. We're going to get any artifact here and put it in and be a 4/4. And then if we attach, it's going to be a 5/5 with lifelink and trample.
yeah, I mean, you can't like lightning bolt twice. Oh, he's thinking about it, but I think a construct just beats a if you Soul Guide Lantern. Like you're right, he's getting the shot. He's just gonna beat down. It is a
Wow.
It is a who's on the beat down.
And at this point, once that Shadow Spear is in the battlefield, it's too late for Nicholas to Lightning Bolt. If there was one in hand, once that Shadow Spear is in play, that construct is a 4/4.
Which, wow, and it's kind of really nice that very climatic that he showed the Soul Guide Lantern. He was thinking about it, and he's like, no, I'm going to get the Shadow Sphere.
And once again, open deck lists. Nick knows what's in the deck.
And we haven't seen any crazy madness from Nicholas' side here, where a lot of the drawing and discarding, playing unfair hollow ones. We've actually seen a pretty fair game from Nicholas's side of the deck here.
So the players are counting up for Delirium here and for the Nethergoyf, making sure that they both know how big this creature is. Our information says that it is a 3/4. right, Tom untapping, drawing, and we see Khan, the great creator. Now, you mentioned the main deck Soul Guide Lantern. What about the sideboard Tormod's Crypt?
Right, yeah, that's actually really smart because if he gets crypt, it powers the construct and then you activate it later. Or you activate it when he declares the block to shrink the Goyf. That's that's really smart.
Especially paired with the trample that the Shadow Spear gives. Blocking with this Nethergoyf is just not an option here now.
Yeah, you don't want to get 2 for 1, right?
So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 artifacts plus 1 from the Shadow Spear. This is a 6/6 trample lifelink.
Yeah, 6/6 trample lifelink. That's crazy. That's the power of Modern Horizons, right? He just took it. He's back to 18.
You really don't have another option. You can block it with a 2/2. You can block with the Goyf and sort of force the Tormod's Crypt activation. It's not exciting.
Yeah, right.
What does Nick need here to come back?
Ooh! Yeah, well, Nick, he needed like some lightning bolts or something. He needed dismember or something. He needed to definitely shore up that construct because the Blood Moon could have killed the Saga much earlier, but yeah. It's,
Whatever he needed there, it wasn't to be found in his hand. And Nick says, nope, that's enough for me. Congratulations. You can go to Worlds, Thomas Bot. We see the trophies there on the table. I want to see Thomas Bot hoist that trophy. I want to see Nick pick up the runners-up trophy as well. We're going to bring him back into the booth as we come to the end of our finals here. Welcome back after the final of Regional Championship 8 here at Sydney, Australia. What a match, what a finals, what a top 8,
Yes.
what a tournament.
what a tournament. Some of the best players all in the room playing for Regional Champion 8 after one of the biggest unbannings in Modern coming into this. And we have a Fringe deck coming out as the finalist winner.
2 copies in the whole room.
2 copies in the whole room and they both make top 8.
One of them made top 8, one of them made top 1.
Top 1, the winner, they won. Go Team Brown.
Well, that's the end of the final coverage, at least. We're going to see if we can convince the winner to come over here, have an interview, get that shiny trophy on the camera, see what he has to say about his deck and his path through the championship. But until then, I'm Jim Dowling, Lee Hung Nguyen. We've had a blast covering Regional Championship 8.
Yep.
And we'll be back soon with more content.